Listen to your heart. Your heart is never wrong. Always face the truth. Your heart won't lead you home.
Welcome to Soul Wealth, wealthy conversations that nurture the soul. Get ready for an enlightening conversation that will nurture your soul and help you live your best life. Now, here's your host, Dr. Vikki Johnson.
Welcome to the Soul Wealth Radio Show. I am your host, Dr. Vikki Johnson, here on dcradio.gov and 96.3 HD4, as well as all other online platforms, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and or online radio show. I'm so happy, grateful, and excited to be coming to you once again with another incredible, wealthy conversation that I know will nurture your soul. My guest today is no different. She is most popularly known to the nation as a stellar award-winning media professional. As a 30-year radio veteran, she brings humor and life to Christian radio. Her bubbling personality, along with her commitment to Christ, makes for a wonderful and edifying listening experience. Her career in radio started when she decided to pursue higher education at Salisbury University in Salisbury, Maryland, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in mass communications directly from college. My guest today began her radio career as a midday host of 90.3 FM, WDIH in Salisbury, Maryland. From there, she became a weekend host for two radio stations, WMMJ-FM, Magic 102.3 in Washington, D.C., and WWIN-AM, Spirit 1400 in Baltimore, Maryland. She garnered her first Stellar Award as program director for WPGC-AM, Heaven 1580 in Washington, D.C., where she created and developed the Urban Inspiration brand. She currently can be heard on Radio 1's WPRS-FM, Praise 104.1 in the midday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Saturday. She has received numerous accolades. However, one of the ones she is most proud of is the 2018 Stellar Woman of Gospel Award, presented by a powerful constituent of female peers. She created and developed her company, Cheryl Jackson Enterprises, which is a multi-platform media company that provides media consultancy, artist development, marketing, PR, public speaking, promotions, and event planning. When she is not on the radio, she is an evangelist of the Church of God in Christ, where she has faithfully served in ministry at Capitol Temple Church of God in Christ, where she and her husband also serve as the coordinator of the marriage ministry. She is married to Glendale Dwight Jackson, and together they have 4 children. She lives by my favorite scripture as well, Philippians 1:6, which says, being confident of this very thing, he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. Listen, y'all don't understand. I just feel like a hot air balloon and I can just take off and fly. I am so grateful and excited to have the woman in the studio with me today who gave me my first opportunity in radio. We counted before we went on air 20 years ago. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that's
you
crazy.
You are sitting inside of what you helped to create. Welcome to the Soul Wealth Radio Show, Cheryl Jackson.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. This our connection, is such a God connection.
Grateful for you. I've been trying to get you in here since I knew it was going to be what it is and is becoming. And I'm just so glad that you made the sacrifice, that after you got off the air, you came over to be with me in studio to have this conversation. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I'm a little
Cheryl
nasally,
Jackson,
so
that's okay.
You hear that in my voice.
That is okay, but who knew? Who knew this was what God had in mind 20 plus years ago for me when I was in the studio on your show, on the morning show.
Yeah.
And just very serendipitously having a conversation, and there was born I'm Every Woman.
Yep.
a daily radio feature on Heaven 1580 that we did together for 7 years. Listen, pre-social media.
Yeah.
There was no social media.
Yeah.
All the feedback we got came via the website and people sending in comments. And then from there was Girl Talk. And from Girl Talk was The Getaway. And that all evolved into Soul Wealth.
Right. Not to mention books.
Oh, my goodness.
Several books. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The daily segments that I did were my first two books. And now I just recently released book 12, but Cheryl Jackson, this is you. Like, this is your fruit. Can you believe that?
No. It's such a God thing. It's hard to take credit for stuff like that. You know what I mean?
It was a God thing, but God works through people. So I want to shine the light on you today of gratitude and thank you because you said yes. You know, I was able to say yes to purpose and the call on my life to birth this baby, Soul Wealth, and now the Soul Wealth radio show that is global. And that is because God used you and you said yes, because you didn't have to say yes.
Yeah. Well, he showed me you. Remember, we used to get our hair done together and Holy Spirit was like, you guys will work together. I think you and I talked about that in the salon. And I said, I don't know where, but I believe you and I will work together. I don't even know what brought you in studio that particular time.
I do. I remember it was you were a part of the morning show team. And I think Matt had just left. And you all were doing a contest of, you know, we're going to invite listeners to come in and be a guest co-host. And I came in on Valentine's Day. Listen, I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay. I came in, Holla Walla was there, and I was the guest for Valentine's Day. And after, it was during a break, I think, and we had the conversation around, you know, who is your target audience? And you said women 18 to 45. And I said, you know what would be awesome if you did like just a 1 minute empowerment moment, just like a shot in the arm. You remember that? Yep. And we were sitting there and literally just like that.
I'm every woman.
It was created. It was born. And you know, I want to also, this is a perfect time for me just to bring into the space, just to say his name, Bobby Burwell, who was my producer. And, you know, it's surreal.
That's crazy. Those times were so God-focused that I don't even know how it was so perfect, but it turned out to be so perfect. Just kind of hearing God, even the Urban Inspiration brand, God gave me in revival as I journaled everything and executed it. And we were positioning ourselves for FM. We were one of the first stations, if not the first station, to introduce that inspiration brand that you hear across the world now. And so, you know, it's so surreal when I look back at all the things that God unfolded there. And I remember it now. And so it was like perfect. It was perfect. And it was something that, you know, was powerful on the show. So even when I went to middays, we made sure to move it there. And even for a stint, we took it with us to, you know, to praise. So because I think it was a voice of healing. What I didn't know, though, is what it meant to you at that point. You know what I mean? I think all of that unfolded as I began to see Girl Talk unfold and I see the women that were being delivered and healed and now in leadership, now kind of taking on those that, you know, snowball effect of mantles. Did I realize that was really so powerful? We just went through the motion, right?
Yeah, I know. We were just doing what we knew to do, young, hungry, excited, you know, down to me being in Louisiana and coming back with this CD that I found randomly in a bookstore in Louisiana. And I said, Cheryl and Wayne, you have got to hear this song, New Season, by Israel Houghton. You remember that?
I do remember.
And Heaven 1580 started playing It's a New Season.
We were the first Black gospel station to play it. Yeah, we were the first, and then you had gotten it to me before the label had even gotten it to me, because he wasn't even signed with the copy that you had. They actually reproduced it on Integrity, but when you got it to me, it wasn't even label. He wasn't on a label at the time. It was like cardboard. I remember the CD, and I was like, "What, Vikki?" But then churches started singing it across the world, and Israel remembers that. He thanks me now because of you. He thanks me now for being the first to ever put him on Black Gospel Radio.
That is phenomenal. And it speaks to the power of following your passion. Like when you just do what you love with no agenda, there was no strings attached. It was, let's just do this. Yep. Hey, this is a great idea. We're going to follow this passion. And that is a nugget for those of you who are listening in the Soul Wealth family. Like, just follow what lights you up, because that was lighting us up.
Yes.
Good music, urban inspiration, blazing a trail that you didn't even know.
Yep.
Was leading to where you are and what is now a platform of urban inspiration across the country. And so many women and men really unknowingly are sitting in a seat of a legacy that started with you.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's crazy. A lot of people don't even know where the brand came from. Even the company I work for, it frustrates me a little because they don't really understand what inspiration is. They've labeled it that because they've heard it, right? And because it's on FM and it's marketable. But they really don't know what it is or how to execute it, right? So it's a little frustrating when you know it's your vision and it's what God had given you and what it really can do for the format. So it's like somebody steals your idea, right? Runs with it and put it on a bigger platform, but don't know what to do with that platform. But then as I look across the company, it's other companies that use it as well. But what they use it is as a tool to be more gospel music, to be more marketable. So they get that portion of it. So you kind of sit back, and I put it in my bio, and I speak about it wherever I go, because I do want people to get what it really should be, right? It really is something God gave us to be able to expose the gamut of gospel music, where gospel isn't one sound. Like you hear an R&B song, you think, oh yeah, that's R&B. If it's not rap, oh, that's R&B. But what gospel music, you have multiple genres within it. So you have different sounds of it. And we, at the time, we were like hindering folk to sound like they were neo-soul or urban or CCM or anything like that might fit our format. And we would just be like, no, that's just not that's not God. That don't sound like God. And we got a lot of that flack because we were trailblazers in that, right?
Right, like Kirk Franklin.
Yeah, the Kirk Franklins of the world, the Dietrichs, the Tonays. And then even being able to still program traditional music and begin to program, traditionally what was being heard on radio, but also just wanting to expose creatives, right, that were Christian and that were God-focused. That's where the inspiration brand came, because God was like, there is no platform for everybody to be heard, because, the church was so regimented that this is how it's supposed to sound. And that really limited the format to even develop revenue for it or, programming outside of the churches. And so that's where the whole brand came from.
So, the time frame of our conversation today is during the time that the world collectively, and particularly people of color in this country, we are just still riveted in our souls by the passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter and the other souls that were lost in the helicopter crash, right? But it speaks to legacy also. And I think that who he was and who his legacy will continue to be is a powerful thing. And you don't really know your blazing trails when you're blazing them.
Right.
You just do what you know to do, and you do it with excellence and with all of your might, which he did. And I bring that up, not from left field, if you're listening. I bring that up very intentionally because to me, you are like to radio what Kobe was and is to basketball and then life after, right? Because that is so important. And I say that to say this, Cheryl. Who you are and who you have been is so much bigger than what you do day to day.
Yeah.
It's so much bigger. Like the imprint that you are and will leave in the earth is forever. It is forever. It's so much bigger. Like soul wealth is so much bigger than me. And again, it speaks to following your passion. Share with us, if you will, and it's so fun to interview the one who does the interviewing most of the time. Like, I'm getting such a kick out of this. What is a lesson, a life lesson that you have experienced that has stayed with you to this day that you can share with our listeners? Something that has just resonated with you.
Life lesson. I think the one that sticks out the most is being able to hear the voice of God and then moving in it, right? Like, I realized that when I developed a relationship with the Father, everything that I set out to do was for His purpose. And because of that, I never had to fight to do it, right? It just happened. And then, like you said, legacy began. It was nothing I don't think I could have just conjured up. I know I'm a leader. I'm a natural born leader. Even before developing, I was, and I gave my life to the Lord early. Like when I was really young, in the Baptist church, you get baptized, you get converted is what they say. And you have to learn, faith. But actually living faith and accepting Him in relationship, I really began to develop that in college. And then I really began to see a different way of living. And that way of living was the way He wanted me to live, whether, however it made me look, right? From courtship to marriage to children to career opportunities, I've been able to hear His voice and move accordingly. Like, somebody would say, oh, you should have done this by now, or you should do this. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't because of this, right? It may not make sense to you. My courtship was horrible with my husband. And so everybody's looking like, you gonna marry him? But the marriage has been the best thing I've ever done.
And how long have you been married?
This is 24 years this year.
Wow, 24
years this year. And I went into my marriage with 2 bonus kids, right? My husband being a single father, 2 different baby mamas. And of course, everybody's like, what? But God already showed me who He was to me. And in our marriage, He has been that and more, just like the best thing that ever happened to me, and you know that. How my relationship...
That is really powerful.
Yeah,
just speaking to the power of vision.
Yeah.
And following it.
Absolutely. And in times when, it doesn't look popular or sound popular, gospel music is not the popular genre, if you will, but knowing this is where I'm supposed to be and taking it and building on it and growing on it and creating legacy with it. And I couldn't have done that in my own accord, I don't believe. So I think that the biggest life lesson was to learn to hear the voice of God and
follow it.
And follow it, however it makes you look, however. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Follow what you know, however it makes you look when you know.
Yeah.
Right? You know
when
what you know.
Yeah.
You know what you know, and I'm repeating that intentionally because many of us know what we know, yet we ignore it or we try to alter it so that it conforms to a degree that it makes other people comfortable.
Exactly.
But you know you're called to do something great when it makes you uncomfortable, but especially if you have the courage to share it and people call you crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know you can chuckle about
you're
that.
Holding on to something tremendous.
Yeah, because you could probably, I know you attest to that. Like, people don't understand our move when you're in relationship with God. And I really take that seriously. Like, I stay in my word. I'm making sure I'm staying connected so that I can hear the next move for me. So in my frustration, God calms me all the way down and always will send reminder, I got you. I need you right here. So chill for a minute. You know what I mean? Because we in our natural would think, I need to do this, or I need to go this way, or it makes sense to do it this way. So I think the biggest life lesson for me is learning the voice of God and just kind of moving when He says move.
What has been a defining moment for you?
Kayla's birth.
Yeah. Oh, my
Kayla's
goodness.
birth. Kayla's
Talk
birth.
about that.
I had 2 bonus kids, of course. And so Desmond was 6 when I married my husband. Lamar was 2. But my first baby, and I wasn't even supposed to have children. So she's a miracle in so many ways. And that doctor said I couldn't have children because I wasn't ovulating on my own. So I wasn't able to have children. And I ended up pregnant with my daughter. And she came early, 26 weeks gestational.
Wow.
6 months. And, she was, my water broke at 20 weeks. And then long and short, she fought for her life. She survived and fought for her life for the first year. But my first baby ever having a kid, it was like she was a sick kid, like she was a sick baby. And the defining moment for me was, first when I got pregnant, and then second when she stayed after my water broke for 6 weeks. And then the third, it was just a succession of miracles that God kept happening. And now today she's 21. And, the only battle scar she has is that she doesn't have hearing in one ear. But she's excellent. Like she's
amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, really, an amazing spirit. I'm not just saying that.
No, I know.
Because she's your daughter and we're friends. She really is a special young woman.
Yeah.
And again, when you're getting ready to embark upon a tremendous and beautiful journey, the labor of it, the leading up to it, can be tumultuous.
Yeah.
And I remember that time when she was born early and we were
the whole city was like praying with me. I was doing shows from the bed,
oh my
all
goodness,
of that.
That was a time. And now look, right, that you get to sit in the blessing of your endurance.
Yeah, and of raising her has been the reminder God shared with me that the glory of God is His power being revealed, and that she was His glory. And I said to my husband, I'm just honored that God would allow us to raise His glory, like would allow us to be that conduit for her. So I learned, even now as she's an adult, so much from her. She's so ahead of her time and so wise.
She is an old soul.
Yeah. So,
she is an old soul.
That was
Cheryl,
the defining moment.
What haven't you done that you want to do?
Television.
Television. Okay.
My strong point is interviewing, so it's real hard for me to just be quiet and let you say what you have to say. But I'd like to do, and we can speak this in the atmosphere, because I'd like to do a all-girl talk show, if you will, but more like an Entertainment Tonight situation, where it's not just, most of the talk shows are topical and conversational, but I'd like to talk more relevancy of industry, entertainment, if you will, like Entertainment Tonight, if you will. But I envision myself in a position like that on a Christian for the kingdom. But I'd like to do it on network. I don't want it to be like on a small cable channel. I'd like it to be a mainstream show. So I'd like to. That's my desire.
That's the desire. That's the dream. That's the vision, and we speak that right into existence because you've done so much. And sometimes when you are a visionary, it can be challenging to keep the vision fresh.
And so I'd like to say, if not the talent side, then I also see myself programming networks.
Nice.
So if God desires that I not go on the talent side of things, I'd like to be responsible for networks. You know what I mean? For the next.
Doable. Why not?
Yeah. So either one of those things, God, I'm good.
That's so funny. That's so cool. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful. Yeah.
Family. Your family. Your family is amazing.
And people like you who are beyond the bloodline of family. You know what I mean? Because, I don't have a lot of people in my inner circle. I don't have a lot of people, but those people that are dear. So like people like you are more than just friends to me. Because I know that, friends they come and go, but, any given time we could call on each other and we'll be there for each other. And I think that just the whole concept of those people that are family in my life, I think.
What is the key? What has been the key to longevity in your relationships? Because you have really solid relationships around you. And in this day and time where people are so image driven or agenda driven, like what can I get from you, or transactional driven, you have really mastered relationships. And in an industry that is cutthroat, that is difficult to make authentic connections that are long-term, like you mentioned, you and Israel still having relationship, and you being that trailblazer and just who you are. What is a key for you to maintaining relationships?
I'm easy. I'm easy, and I'm non-controversial. Like, I run from controversy, and my husband helped me with that. Like, he called me 100%, right? And so I don't like disarray. And when I see disarray, I literally run from it. Like, I could love you, and you will never know that you're not that person for me. You know what I mean? But
you will never know you're sitting in the living room and not at the kitchen table.
Exactly. But I hold those people dear. And Ursi and I, my best friend, and I have been best friends for over 46 years.
That's what I'm saying.
We talked about that literally over this weekend. It was like both of us, we just don't, and my husband, we just don't like controversy. And I know that you have conflict, but I think that we resolve conflict quick because, it's not something that we want to linger. And so with that, I just don't like to be messy. I don't like it. I just, I think I run from that kind of stuff, and I love people through it. And I understand, wholeheartedly sometimes why people are messy, because they have issues that are unresolved in their own lives. So I have compassion for that, but I can't allow that to.
So that's what you run from.
Yes.
What makes your relationships work, though? Can you share
the longevity of it?
Yeah, just some tips. How are you and Ursi friends for
I think it's
40
that.
plus years? Like, you avoid the controversy, but how do you show up for one another? Like, what is that? The transparency, the vulnerability, the love. What are just name a few of those qualities before we close, because I want you to share that, because we don't connect anymore is what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
People don't connect. We think just because we follow someone on social media that we know them, and we don't.
Right.
Or that because we are an influencer or not, that people like our social media, that, they care for us, that they love us, that they like us, and that is not real.
Yeah.
So, before we close, I just want you to share, what is that?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's being free to be vulnerable to certain people, and you can't be that to everybody. And so the longevity of it is them knowing the inner parts of you and holding on to that as you know from them, and holding on to that. And so that's what I think causes the longevity and the love, that it goes beyond just you being my friend, right? So it's lifelong. If I'm in it, I'm in it, and just kind of like having those qualities of not being today here and not there tomorrow.
And being committed to your commitments.
Being committed to your commitments,
right?
yes.
Yeah, the 4 agreements, being impeccable with your word, always doing your best, showing up, not making assumptions. That's a great book, by the way, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. That really helped me in my relationships, not to make assumptions. If I wanted to know something, just ask, be impeccable with my word. If I say something, do it.
Yeah.
Always do my best, right? So
and I think
love
key
that.
of that all is communication.
Communication,
right? And
does matter.
That's my major. That's who I am. So I think you have to talk. I think all this stuff happens because you just hiding so much. You just have to talk. You have to communicate. Yeah.
Cheryl Jackson, we are coming to the end of this amazing session. I'm so happy that you're here. How can our listeners in the Soul Wealth family connect to you? Where can they find you?
Cheryl Jackson Radio on all social media, and CherylJacksonENT.com is the website.
I love it. Thank you, Cheryl Jackson, for being here with me today on the Soul Wealth Radio Show here on dcradio.gov and 96.3 HD4. I am your host, Dr. Vikki Johnson. Please visit my website, VikkiJohnson.com. That's VIKKI Johnson.com, where you can get my latest book, Soul Wealth: Finding Vision, Compassion, Authenticity, Abundance, and Legacy in the Midst of Chaos. Having said that, everybody, listen, soul wealth is your birthright. It is your inheritance, and you are worthy of it. So go out, live full, so you can die empty. Until next time, peace.
You've been listening to Soul Wealth, wealthy conversations that nurture the soul with Dr. Vikki Johnson. Soul Wealth is not just a brand, it's a lifestyle of vision, compassion, authenticity, abundance, and legacy created one conversation, one choice at a time. For more information, visit VikkiJohnson.com or click on Soul Wealth at dcradio.gov.